exception there. So
Was that the AI powered one?
yeah,
Yeah, I was getting, our rep was telling me about that the other day.
yeah. It's 911 transactions totaling $13 million is questioning.
Resolution.
But it's meant to like,
Everything's awful.
it's meant to like, you're meant to train it.
Right, yeah.
And so
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, why not?
you need a big sign. You talked to this before.
I
And I
know,
forgot to wear my fucking shirt.
I had the sign. Andrew, hey, good to see you. Had the sign and I forgot to grab it.
There you go. Ooh, thank God. Is there napkins over there maybe somewhere? Is there like a kitchen?
Yeah, whole kitchen there. Yep.
Muffins, so it's a new film.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Daniel. Just doing a sound check. You can hear us okay?
Yeah,
Pretty long.
That's fine. I had my speakers like off. I didn't know if you were saying something or not. I just realized about that.
We're just unmuted with the people in the room as well here. So
Okay, that's great.
I guess I have to join the Zoom down.
yeah, so you have your own presentation, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Rebecca. All right.
Hey, yeah, how are you?
Glad you were able to come.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for sharing. Yes, just turn my, is there mics in the room? Just turn this mic
That's
on.
one right here.
So you need to join.
The speakers. Yes, please. There you go. Good morning, Lisa.
Morning. Sorry, I couldn't
Sorry.
make it.
Yeah, sorry about hearing about your flat tire. Hopefully you
Yeah,
get that sorted out today.
maybe tomorrow. I'm getting someone to come to the house to change it for me, and then I'll take it to someone. I don't know. I'm not changing a tire, so whatever.
Great.
As long as the house has milk and bread, we can survive. How's the premises there?
It's great. It's a very good room. Yeah. Yep.
It looks good because you sound good.
Oh, 13 in the room right now, Lisa. So it's great. Excellent. And we can hear you loud and clear. So that's perfect.
We wouldn't want it any other way.
We'll probably get started in another minute or two.
I had a lot of fun in Asia for the month of January, so it was an interesting place. Data centers with lots of money to be spent. So
Fantastic.
it was fun.
That's an awesome experience.
Yeah. You know what? It's also an interesting experience of seeing how other people operate. Wild West in Asia is all I can say. Account managers are really good over here in comparison.
Fantastic. As many online as I was expecting it. Maybe people will drop in, especially for your AI. There's a lot of interest in AI.
Yeah, I think we all forgot January is year end and everyone else is headless.
Yes.
Or December's year end and it's still year end mode. I'm headless.
All right. Why don't we get started, everyone? So I'm Mark Tanner, co-chair of the Canadian NetSuite user group, and my co-part here, Gavin, as well as co-chair. So we're very happy to host you guys today. Thank you for making the trek in. Thankfully, there was no snow. It's one of the only days we haven't had snow yet, right? Quite a while, and not as cold as well. And we hope that, this is the first time at this location. Usually we're at Oracle's building. Oracle moved. So new building, and they did not have enough space or a bigger boardroom or anything as well. So Now we are renting space.
It's also at Kipling or Islington
Islington.
and
Yeah.
Bloor.
Yeah.
So
For locations. So it was either this location or a little bit closer on Front Street, downtown Toronto, Union Station. This venue won in the survey that I put out. So thank you for voting on the survey, and hopefully, by attendance as well. Thank you very much for again coming. I'm not sure if we can put the Canadian hockey game a little bit later on one of these TVs, but we do want your eyes here instead. And Gavin's probably going to be presenting around that part as well. So, but I'm sure we'll keep an update on our phones and stuff too, but the Olympics, but exciting times. Okay. Again, thank you for being here. So I'd like to thank our sponsor today as well, the Swiftest. So we're going to hear from them a little bit later on their great solution too. I've got a couple of QR codes up here. Hopefully you guys have scanned it or gone to our sites, but just highlighting our CANSUG forum, which is on a school platform. Gavin and I are testing out a different platform. We may move from the school platform, but we'll take some of those great conversations that we've been having with some of you from that to a new platform as well. And also our LinkedIn account and also our website. So all of these meetings in the past, we've been doing this for 7 years now, I think. It was before pandemic. So, and we've always recorded these and put them available on our website as well. So you can go back and take a look if there's certain topics and stuff too that you can go and fast forward and zoom in on some of those topics. Okay. We try to cover topics that have been asked for with members. We run a monthly, except for this month, the month that we have an in-person, but a lunch session. So take some questions out of that. What are the typical topics, and try to put an agenda around that and throw it out in a survey and see what the interest is as well. So yeah, thank you. Go through our agenda. We'll do a little bit of a welcome, some introductions. We'll have a couple of announcements. I'll go into RevRec in NetSuite. We have some finance questions. There were 3 questions that were submitted. So Lisa, you've got one of them. I've got the 2 others that were submitted, I think just yesterday. So quick answer on those. We've got our sponsor as well, Swiftest, and we're going to take a bit of a break. We'll go into dashboards. So I'm hoping Stephanie or someone from Fuse Health. Good. Holly?
Someone else.
Okay. Is doing that. Yeah. And I hear that there's a great video presentation as well. So fantastic. So looking forward to that. And maybe we didn't really have an agenda around the dashboard. So Fuse Health, Stephanie's on our board as well. I think she's pretty proud of the dashboards that you guys have in NetSuite and wanted to show that to the group as well. Nurse services focused company as well. So looking forward to that. And then we can just open it to other discussions around dashboards and what have you seen that looks really good and cool, and where are some of the pitfalls around dashboards, because they're not built for everybody, but they have some great uses there. And then Gavin's going to wrap it up with our NetSuite AI MCP Connector, and we'll have a good discussion around AI and specifically what Gavin is doing in that situation. Okay. And then we'll have a little bit of a wrap up as well around 12:30. All right, sound good? Okay, again, thank you, everyone. And if you didn't hear earlier, again, coffee, tea, stuff over in the kitchen. Washrooms are outside, just down the hall by the elevators, okay? All right, so our Canadian NetSuite user group is nonprofit. We are here just donating our time and helping others. We love bringing others together around the NetSuite community. What are other like customers doing? What are some of the great ideas? And where do we need help as well with everyday running of NetSuite? You know, sometimes it runs very smoothly. Other times it's you're scratching your head as to where do I go now to fix this? And we get 90% of the way there in some implementations and some areas, and then it's getting over the hurdle for the next 10%. But what we found over the last bunch of years is there's a lot of creative people in this group that can share some new, unique ideas that maybe we haven't thought of before. And that's the whole idea is, have an open group and share different ideas. Okay. So we do have a board. We are looking for another board member right now as well. And the focus on that is to grow. So right now we've done a great job around the GTA and gathering customers in the GTA. Now we want to go further across Canada because the solutions and the problems that we have here in the GTA are the same as others across our country. So let's not isolate it just to Ontario, but branch it out to all of Canada. Okay? So we're looking for someone that can help us grow that as well in some of those other geographies, but mainly, be more interactive as well with our user group. Okay? Some announcements. I just had additional board member. Our lunchbox series that we host. It is on the second. I think it's Thursday, not Tuesdays. I don't know why I have Tuesdays, but we try and keep on that schedule as well. The CANSUG live forums on the school platform, that was the QR code earlier. Again, encourage you, throw some questions up, read some questions that other members have. If you have some input, please, give some advice, give some direction. We're all in this together and to help each other as well. The feedback for incoming sessions as well, if you have a topic that you would really like us to tackle, the sooner the better, let us know. And we can do some research or get somebody maybe from NetSuite or someone else from the community to maybe do a demonstration on that as well. A good reminder that your 2026.1, you probably have the release preview, your candidates, make sure that you've accepted that, you've started that portal. It's a free sandbox for a little while. And you're testing out any of your customizations and flows and workflows and everything, just to make sure everything runs smooth. Knocking on wood, generally the upgrades go pretty smooth. Maybe the first week is a little bit rocky in some instances, but then it's smooth sailing after that. And also on your calendars, April 14th, NetSuite's in town to do Suite Connect. That's their Toronto stop. I think they're in New York City this week, and making their way around the country. So glad they're making a stop in Toronto as well. So always good to have and support NetSuite when they have these events in town. All right. Again, thank you to our sponsor, Leo. Thank you very much, and really looking forward to, as your catchphrase, the easiest way to test in NetSuite. When we help out clients, and usually when we're building customizations, building scripts, building new code, and then hand it over to the customer and ask them to UAT, usually come back pretty quick and say, yeah, it's all going great. We take a look in the system and there's no records tested, nothing. So I'm looking forward to that because I'll have an answer for some of these questions. If they don't have time to test, then they should be testing. Everybody should be testing, preferably in a sandbox, and test those apps or those customizations before they roll out and go into production. So I'm hoping that you guys have a solution for that we'll hear about.
Thanks for having us.
Great, thank you, appreciate it. All right, so let's get into our first topic, NetSuite's revenue recognition. And I've got about half an hour, 45 minutes to really talk about this. This is and could be an all-day topic, could be multi-day topic. So I wanted to just, since this is the first time that we're presenting this, I thought I'd go a little bit smaller on the solution. I do want to get into NetSuite and actually do the setup and walk through some of the steps. But how many of you are doing revenue recognition within NetSuite today? 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 hands up. You're not?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. 6. How many are doing revenue recognition outside of NetSuite? A few more hands too. Okay. All right. I'm hoping that you would like to bring it into NetSuite, and there are some pitfalls and some challenges with that, and we'll go through some of that and some of the setup in that and things that I've learned as well, setting up NetSuite's revenue recognition. But we're not going to get into the super advanced cases, although we will have a few. Are you able to let? Yeah. We won't touch on the big advanced cases, but if that's where the discussion is going, then we'll have a follow-up. Okay, maybe dedicate one of our lunch mock sessions to a little deeper dive and have some of my counterparts that are really deep into RevRec handle that in some of that discussion as well. Okay. So I do have a separate presentation. So how many of you are comfortable with the terminology or what revenue recognition is? Pretty good, pretty good. Okay, do you want me to go through a little bit of how to, like, or not how to, but what is revenue recognition? Okay, all right, okay, good. Let me pick this up. I'll stop sharing and I'll reshare just different browser. Hold on. Bear with me just a second. Interesting, it's not letting me share that screen. Thing that I would like to. Oh, because it's duplicated. Yes.
It's not duplicate. Sugar.
Sugar. Okay. All right, should be good to go now. Let's see. All right, so we'll talk a little bit through this one. I don't have the dual displays now, so I may talk to the screen a little bit. Sorry for being rude and showing you my back a little bit. But the revenue recognition refers to like the accounting rules, like when a business when they can record revenue. So which is different than I'm creating invoices and customers are paying. So, and companies in a service business, and I'll use an example as we sell a product and it's warranted across a 12-month period of time. So you don't want to recognize that revenue for that warranty up front. You want to smooth that out through the entire year, whatever that calendar year is. Okay, so the product that you sold, so say I sell a computer, I sell a laptop, right? And I sell a laptop and a ruggedized stealth laptop, and I recognize that revenue immediately. So I invoice that customer for that computer. But on the second line of that invoice or that sales order is the warranty period, and it could be 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. I don't know if you have more than that, but you don't want to again recognize that warranty upfront with the sale of that laptop. So you want to spread that across the the time period of 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to just be that. It could be I'm a services company and I'm selling a service contract. The customer's paying 50% upfront and 50% over 6 months of the implementation of my services. So another example is in the construction industry. You're not building a building in day one, you're building it over time. So the way that you invoice your customer is separate from I'm doing services work. My employees are working hard at providing that warranty service or building an implementation service or constructing a building. You want to recognize that same revenue over that period of time. And when you have the introduction of revenue recognition, then you have a better understanding of what my true costs are. Because what you don't want is your costs and your revenue going up, down. Like you have a real big spike if you just did it by invoice at the start. And then you have no revenue for the next like 6 months while all of my staff are consuming hours and they're doing all of their costs and everything. So you want to distribute that cost. And I'm not an accountant, but I would imagine banks or audits, when they take a look at your finances, they don't want to see that big, dip in revenue and costs. They want to see it a little bit more smoothed out. They want to see the health of your business. So, on a simple explanation, that is our process. So it's separated from invoicing in NetSuite. It's a completely different process. And I'll get into some of those steps, but in the end, you're creating a journal entry that smooths out that business, and you're putting money into deferred revenue. So it knows, and the system is knowing it is revenue, but it's deferred. And where is it deferred? It's deferred across a schedule. And that schedule can be set in a number of different ways. The way that we're going to look today is more of a straight line methodology for revenue recognition.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Oh, sorry, somebody on the phone. If you don't mind muting Mark, please. Thanks. So straight line is I have my warranty contract and it's $120. It's $10 per month is my revenue recognition. If it was something like construction where you may have some costs up front and then the project kind of slows down and then it speeds up again and then it slows down. Well, that's not really straight line, is it? Like you're not consistent every month. So your model might be to what's the job completion? So you keep track of a percentage of the completion of the overall project. And that can speed up and slow down. And usually you have a forecast around that. And you say, hey, 20% in this period, 40% in this period, 10% over here in this period. And then maybe the rest comes in the last period. So it's a way to, again, smooth that out, but also mimic where your costs are. So, and whatever your costs are, whether it's construction materials or whether it's labor. But again, that predictability. And those percentages can change. So it is quite easy to change a schedule. Everybody's schedule changes, right? Nothing, you try to plan as best as possible, but things get stretched out, things get, maybe moved forward. And it's important to be able to change what that recognition is as well. Okay? So I don't think we're going to get into, we won't get into the percentage complete example. I'm just going to do a straight line rule for that, just for simplicity and get us kind of started with revenue recognition and show you it in NetSuite as well. Okay. Does that sound good? Okay. Is that a pretty good explanation? Those of you who know RevRec very well, did I do okay? All right. Okay. Anything you guys would add? Because we'd love to hear from you guys too. No?
I'm gonna do that. It's but
Some of the details. Yeah. So in the slides here, and I'll share all of these slides with you as well. It goes through some of the examples within industries. So then you can pick like your industry. I kind of highlighted a few there, like construction services, product sales with warranties. Telecommunications is huge in that when you're, you have, everybody's got a cell phone, and you're on a plan, whether you're paying for the service part of it or paying off the product part of it. That's revenue recognition that Bell or Rogers or whoever is with your contract. That's the way that they are operating as well. Okay. Only one that I didn't touch base maybe is software, but again, same thing, right? There's so much software as a service now. All of that would be revenue recognition. We're all like on Spotify, right? As a service. Well, they're recognizing that revenue on a probably a monthly, right, term as well. Okay. I have lots of slides in here with examples.
This was the most fun thing to demo, by the way, when I was at NetSuite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Revenue rec.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Should have had you do it then, Kevin.
Give me 5 minutes wine.
Yeah. All right. So the demo today is going to be the essentials view of revenue recognition, but there's also, and what NetSuite dubs as, it's called ARM. So it is the advanced revenue management module. I can't remember if you have to purchase that one. I believe that you do have to purchase that one. If somebody can help me out with that. Yeah. Yes, lots of nods. And then there's the essentials and some of the things that you can do in the essentials. And then if you go to the full suite, there's much more advanced features as well. But usually in most cases, if you're not like a super complicated revenue recognition implementation, the essentials should get you there. Okay? Sorry, it's really jumping around. Okay. To simplify things, like it all starts with a transaction. So, and most customers will start with a sales order, and your revenue recognition is built and started off your sales order, because you can always change your sales order. It's a little harder to change an invoice. But in some cases, some customers may choose to do revenue recognition off an invoice. So our recommendation, go off the sales order, because things change. You can add things to it, so you can do those modifications. You're a little bit more locked in with invoices. And again, best practice, you lock down your invoice editing, right? After you've invoiced the customer, nobody touches the invoice, right? Especially around the GL and everything. And then you get into the close periods and all of that sort of stuff too, right? That where you just can't touch invoices. So again, sales orders should be the focus there. So then you create your revenue arrangement, and that revenue arrangement is essentially applying the rules that you set up for what your revenue will be. And I maybe skip that slide, and I should have pointed out like the 3 different types of revenue recognition. We're going to focus on straight line. Again, easy across a year divided by 12. That's kind of what your charges are for a simple scenario. And again, that the cost per completion be another scenario too. And then you set the revenue plans as to what's the schedule look like. So based on those rules, and if you've got start and end dates, what is that scheduling? And there's some automation around that if you really want to go and create those journal entries. But the final step is, until the journal entry is actually made, there is no GL impact on anything. So you can do a lot of planning through the arrangements and the revenue plans and take a look and see, does it all look great? And then with your month-end close, apply the journal entries that would recognize that revenue for the month. Make sense? Everybody follow me? Okay. Right. So those are the steps, and you'll see some of those steps as we jump into NetSuite now as well. Okay. I'm going to stop this. Okay. And you see this slide here and a lot of text on this. This will help you walk through the demo that I'm doing right now. It's basically my cheat sheet and script for going through the demo, but it will help if any of you are setting up revenue recognition for the first time or looking at certain things, then you can jump to some of those steps and hopefully give you a guide as well. So let's jump into, this is where I probably should have done dual screen. I'm going to flip around here a little bit. It'll be a little bit difficult in NetSuite, and I don't have NetSuite on my screen. All right, so let's get started. So our first step would be turning on revenue recognition. You'll find that setup, company, enable features. This is our demo environment for Kalpa, so it runs like your sandbox, a little bit slow, so bear with me on some of the screen exchanges. And I know NetSuite can be a little bit hard to see, especially you guys way in the back. Can you guys see this? Okay, I'm zoomed in as much as it.
Can you turn on TV or
no? No, we would have to have a splitter, I think. They're just single TVs, fortunately. Okay, so and under accounting, and if we scroll down, we will find the advanced revenue management, the essentials here. And when you turn this on and save it, you also have to have accounting periods turned on, but I'm going to go with the assumption anybody in NetSuite has the accounting periods turned on, right? And an interesting thing that it does is it will flip on this next rule automatically after you turn this on. So this is the advanced revenue management in configuration mode, and this is smart. So it's kind of your way to go live. So you can do all the setup with revenue recognition within NetSuite. You can decide on all your features and everything. You can't fully test it because it's not going to actually do the plans because it's in configuration mode. But once you're ready and you're comfortable with your setup, because you may have live transactions, you might be ongoing and everything, and you have to do your setup first, then you can turn off this setting, which is the opposite, right? You go into enable settings and then turn something off to actually enable revenue recognition. But again, call it a safeguard, okay? When you're ready to go live, you turn that one off. And then you can actually go ahead and do your revenue recognition, okay? There is the advanced revenue allocations. There's a few others here that we're not going to touch base on. Gets a little bit more in-depth and detailed for like a half-hour session. So we'll touch on that at a later time, okay? All right, so once it's turned on, and I've got it turned on right now, and once you take this off, you can't put it back on. You can't go back into your test mode. So it's kind of like it's all for nothing, okay? The only way around that would be deactivating this one, but I'm not sure you can actually turn revenue recognition off again, especially if you have transactions against and revenue plans, and it's really a move forward. Although NetSuite does not warn you that you cannot turn it back off again. But because I've made those transactions in our demo environment, it's not letting me turn it on again. Okay. All right, so the next spot that you would want to do is set up the accounting and the accounting preferences. And it does not have its own subtab, so it's listed under the general settings. And for this demo, I did not go through and change a lot of things with revenue recognition. I basically let it just default out of the box, define this, but you do have a lot of options that I would recommend kind of going through each one and seeing whether or not that makes sense for your particular situation. This is the advanced revenue management only. and you can see that there are a lot of different choices. So, and again, if you've got like a specific journal entry for revenue recognition that you would like to use, you can set up certain forms and stuff. A lot of it's just the defaulting.
Yeah, and you want to, Mark, because you want to avoid approvals. The last thing you want to do is get journals trapped in approval land. So you tend to do a different form.
That's a fantastic point. Thank you, Lisa. Yes. So you do want a different form. Everybody heard that with like the approvals,
Also
right?
in really their auto.
Okay, great. The rev rec in the 26.1.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. And one of the reasons there is like you have a few choices, and this was one of Mark's questions that he submitted on the finance side was, when you have a choice of setting up rev rec and have a plan per sales order or per order from your customer, which works out well if you don't have a lot. But if you have a telecom business and you have thousands of customers buying every month, you're going to have thousands of journal entries as well. So that's where Lisa's point is, you want somebody approving all of those? I don't think so. But if you are consolidating everybody into specific plans, then you can have one journal entry per plan, which is there's pros and cons to it. And I won't answer all the questions around that just yet, because I do have a slide to answer Mark's questions on a little bit of the research that I did for him as well. Okay. But we'll come back to that. Okay. But great point, Lisa. Thank you for that. Okay. So again, lots of different settings here on RevRec, and again, go through all of this in detail as you're setting up. I didn't care so much on it setting up for this demo. I just made some assumptions that, hey, we're going to do straight line, and I'm just going to use some of the existing forms that I have in NetSuite in the environment. Okay. All right. So my next step would be my next step, if we go back here into this slide here, and a little bit hard to see, is setting up. We want to get to our revenue arrangements, and I mentioned revenue rules around that. So once things are applied, like how are we setting things up? So that's where we want to go next. And under lists, accounting, I think it is, revenue recognition rules. There's also events and recognition plans down here. We won't touch on that just yet. But let's go into the revenue recognition rules. And there's 3 that are set out of the box with NetSuite. It's probably this 1, 2, and 3. Just to kind of get you started, but best practice, don't use the ones out of the box. Create your own, create a new one. So then you know what the setup is. You cannot go in and change any of these. You also, once you've created these, you can't go back in and edit them either, especially if you've got plans that were created from your rules. Okay. So we're going to go with this this one here that I set up for the demo, and we can take a quick look at like what does a rule kind of look like. And it's easy, just pick your name, your revenue recognition method. So I picked straight line by even periods. Just keep it easy. We're going to set something to, it's a 1-year warranty is our example. And we want an even revenue across that period. Okay. So when you create a new one, you do have a few choices there as to the different models that I was talking about earlier. You can leave some of these blank as to offset or start. That I think just depends on your accounting preferences. Any initial amount, terms and days. The other important things to set up is to decide on your amount source. So is it, and I just picked event percent based on account, because we're going to create a sales order, and whatever that amount is on the sales order for that warranty, we're going to distribute that across the periods. We are using our start date and end date as just the element start date and end date, which just means it's a start date and end date on the line level of your sales order. Okay? And we'll see that in a few minutes as well. Okay? And that's really all that you need to, like, those are the basics. But again, look at some of the other options here. If you do reforecasts, like what type of method, you will have some options around that as well. Okay? One interesting thing that I actually forgot about, because I hadn't implemented RevRec in quite a while, and setting up this demo, I had set this up and I wanted it on my start dates. And then I'm looking at my sales order, and at the line level, there's no start and end date. Like, where did it go? Why isn't it there? I can see it when I customize the form and they're visible. I see a start and end date, but I could not make them active. And so digging in again, then it was like, oh, okay, I remember doing this, and remember, deja vu. You need to set up 2 custom fields for on the transaction line record, and then you need to map those custom fields, start and end date, to the revenue recognition start and end date. So I had to backtrack a little bit, and it was like, okay, like, NetSuite, why are you doing this, right? But there must be some good reason, and this is what I can imagine. So you want custom dates there, because every situation, every company, you may want a workflow to decide what those start and end dates should be. And it's better to do that through a customized field rather than a native field that's going to be maybe used as rules that can override that. Okay, because you do have some offsets here as well that could affect those start and end dates too. So I'll give you an example. I'm selling a product today and my warranty is today. Do we start the warranty today, and then where does it go to? Where's my end date? Is my end date a year from now, February 12th, 2027? Or is it February 28th, 2027? Do we let the customer it's the period, it ends in that period? So in that regard, you don't want somebody entering that start and end date every time. If that's your rule, then you want a workflow to set that, whatever that end date is, the last day in the existing period, a year from now, as an example. Okay. Everybody's situation will be a little bit different. I'm just pointing out one simple case, but again, it depends on what your business rules are and how you sell your products and what your maybe value add to your customers as well. Okay. All right, so we go ahead and set the revenue template here. So once we have a template, we called this one again, straight line by SO dates demo. Now we need to apply it to items. So remember when I gave the first example, Pavel's company, Stealth, is selling a laptop and a warranty. Well, you're not recognizing revenue on the laptop, but you do on the warranty. So on every item in NetSuite, you can set whether you want revenue recognition on the item or not. Okay, so just because you've turned this on, it's not going to do anything in the system until you set it on an actual item to, hey, I want to recognize revenue on that item. So I have an item set up here, like a warranty item that we'll take a look at. Using my mouse.
Mark, have they dealt with the idea that you can have revenue items and non-revenue items on the same order? The last time I looked at this,
Yes.
is that they have?
Yep,
You have a direct posting item with RevRec.
we do it with our customer. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Who's selling cell phones and a service. Same
Is your item set up as direct revenue?
Yes.
My NetSuite still giving me errors for that.
Really?
I did that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we can look at that after, for sure. Okay, so I'm in my item setup here. And this one here is just it's a service for sale. It's a warranty item. We just call it package one. It's going to be a 1-year warranty item. And if we go down, there's now a revenue recognition / amortization here. And we've got a few choices to set what rules we want. So you can have many items and then many different rules. Like, how are you tackling your revenue recognition on this set of items? Like, maybe all your warranties are going to be the same, but maybe there's something else as to we do the install of the product, and that revenue recognition is going to go over maybe a 2-month period or a 1-month period. But again, you may not want to recognize that revenue in the 1 month. You spread it over 1 or 2 months, as an example. So you can have many rules set up and items set to many of those rules. But each item can only have one rule set. Okay, can't be multiple. Okay, so here I've just set the recognition rule as to the one that I was just showing you that's created. There's also a forecast rule that applies to the same one, and create the revenue plans on revenue arrangement creation. Now you can change that. You could have it on, I only want it on billing or fulfillment. So you need to do that. So I thought maybe for this demo here, we'll just recognize it when we run the plan, then go ahead and run that recognition. Okay. So again, depends on your preferences and run your business. Okay. The other important fields is under the accounting and the deferred revenue account. If you do not have this specified, and notice it's not mandatory, revenue recognition will not work, okay, until you have an actual GL account to defer the revenue to. Okay. All right, makes sense? So now I've got it on the item. So I have my rule. Now it's on my item. Now what's my next step? Create a sales order. Okay, let's create a sales order. Okay. Hard to go away.
So you can grab it and move it. Grab it from there.
Wrote somewhere. I don't know where I threw it to, but it's somewhere else. Okay. Oh yeah, see it over here. All right. So pretty straightforward. Here's our sales order. Just created a demo account to make this very straightforward. It's having a hard time updating this. It's don't you love our sandbox, right? That was taking a while. Come on. All right. Okay. Got my subsidiary defaulted on my customer record. Anything else that was defaulted, like our department and stuff, any of our segments would be showing up there. So loading our item line here. Okay. All right. And I will add our warranty package with the revenue rec tied to it. And just as a simple example, I'll just leave it as quantity 1 on that. And let's see if I don't have an amount. I'm going to put in $1,200 just for easy math on this. And I didn't show the mapping on this. I'll go back and show you the mapping in a sec. But these are my 2 custom fields in the bottom corner here. So I can set my my start date on my rev rec. I'll just set it for today, and I'll set the end date as the same, but 1 year out. How's that? So it's going to be exactly 1 year. And I'll go ahead and that. Save it. Okay. While it's doing that, maybe on the other tab, we'll look at setup accounting and revenue field mapping. And on this revenue field mapping, you can see I've got 4 entries right now where I'm looking at my source type is my transaction line. My source field is my custom field that I created. And it's going to populate my target fields as the start date, the native NetSuite start date line level.
What is it?
Sorry there? Sorry?
I think there was a.
Was that a question for us?
No, it was someone else.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. And really, when you're setting this up, like I can do a new one here, it's very straightforward. You're just picking your dates and your transaction type, but your source is like a transaction line, and then it will pick your source fields and pick your target fields based on that source as well. So it kind of guides you to it and lets you pick. The only thing that's not checked by default is automatically update the target field value. I don't know why it gives you an option to not do that, because you would want it to do it all the time. You would want to keep it up to date, unless maybe you have like a workflow and you're doing it through that instead. But I would stick with native NetSuite. Don't try and do customizations on top. Try and stick with what NetSuite wants you to do and how that transaction kind of flows. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our sales order, and it did save. And let's just check our related records. Because sometimes in the background there is a schedule running. There is nothing in our related records right now. So our next step would be, great, I've got an order. Now I need to execute the plan. Okay, so I'm going to go to transactions, and you can set this on a schedule so you're not doing this. And there is some sort of a default schedule, because I did notice the other day it was updating. And what we want to do is update. We can force it manually, update revenue arrangements and revenue recognition plans. Okay. And you can see I've done this a few times here. Once you're in here, you can set certain preferences that, like if you're doing this after a period ends and you only want to run your arrangements and plans for the last period, you can set that here with your sources as well as your date settings here too. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go and run the revenue arrangements, and it will say pending down here. We'll give it a minute or two. See how quick it is, and looks like it did it already. Awesome. So it updated the elements and the revenue arrangements. So, which basically means it's applied all of my rules to this, created the revenue elements, but it didn't build out my plan. And my plan would be, all right, great. Based on your rules and your elements, it spread this amount, the $1,200 across 12 months for my warranty period. Okay. So once I know that that is complete, then I can run and update my revenue plans. So it's going to refresh again. It's going to be pending. And with live demos, you always have your fingers crossed a little bit as to no errors, just complete. And looks like that completed as well. It completed our actual revenue recognition plans and our actual forecast revenue plans as well. Okay, so we're in a good spot. So now let's go back to that sales order that I had created. Okay, and now let's look at our related records. And why do I not have?
You got someone with a related record subtab there.
It's that was weird. The transaction. Okay. Phew. Okay. I love the demo. We do. We have a revenue arrangement that has been created, and it is the full amount, the $1,200. We can go and take a look at that revenue arrangement. We can see that it's tied to this sales order for that item. And there should be a little button or something that pops us out, the revenue recognition plan. Let's click that little pop out. And it tells us that we have two. One is the actual and one is a forecast. Okay. And the reason why you'll have the two is one we could be posting against, and that would be actual. So, and it will tell you like what journal entries and everything that are against that and how much is remaining. Whereas the forecast is the overall forecast on it, because sometimes things change. You may add something to this. You may change your price. There might be a fix, which will update. So you could have a different actual versus the forecasts across the plan. If we, I think, click on 7 here, I think. It gives us the revenue recognition plan, and it should give us, here is the amounts spread across February 2026 all the way through to February 2027. On the plans. Okay, so we've got that distributed. I'm not sure why it's not. Why is it not $120? If it was $1,200 for my warranty and it's going across 12 months.
It's actually 13 months.
Well, right, it's actually 13 months because I put this out to this same day, 2027.
Yeah.
And so it's actually the 13 months. Right? It's not an even 12. So it's calculating it correctly based on our start and end dates, which is great. So, and it's recognizing that revenue across that period as well. Okay. So the plan looks good. Great. Now I would like to apply. I would actually like this to hit my GL to create a journal entry. So my last step would be creating the journal entry. And I'm going to just type this in. Revenue. Create revenue recognition journal entries. For whatever reason, this is not showing up on my menu, and I didn't have a chance to look into why creating the revenue recognition was not showing up on my menu. But anyway, again, in NetSuite, you can just type the name of the page that you're looking for into your global search and still find that page. So
Isn't it in purchase management?
that's what I thought. We can take a peek. Transactions.
Okay.
Oh, is it under management? No, it's not under management.
Financial.
No. Could not find it under financial either. It's weird. There's nothing there. There are amortization journal entries, but that's different, right? So very, very strange. And it could be just our demo account as well.
Sorry, if you go back again, that I didn't. under schedule revenue, scroll down a little bit. Schedule revenue, and then there should be a rundown probably. Oh, maybe you can see the view screen, but there should be a
Yeah, there should be another sub pop-up for
Yeah.
that one. Okay, maybe that's why I was missing.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did they bury that? Right? All right. Okay, so I would like to create my revenue recognition. It's defaulting to my existing period. I can change up my entry date. I could do it, search for others under that subsidiary. And it is popping up my one for the 92 31. I can go and do my estimate, or I can just go and create the journal entry that's going to go and process that for me. And again, you can set this up, and depending on the number of transactions and the way that you want this to flow, it should just go and create your journal entries for you based on you kicking it off on that schedule. Okay. Because you could have way too many journal entries depending on your setup, whether it's one-to-one or whether it's one-to-many on your setup there as well.
Hey, Mark.
All right. So, yep.
On the journal entry, one thing that I didn't notice for like a full year while into my NetSuite experience was being able to select prior periods. So if you click that button, if there's unrecorded entries from before, like for us, that would be like a credit memo for prior periods and things like that. I until I realized that button existed, I was going back to those periods and kind of redoing the journal entries one at a time. But if you click the prior period button, then you get to see anything that you haven't entered yet that you should have.
Awesome. So that's kind of your catch-all, right? For,
Yeah.
Yeah. Previous.
the periods need to be.
That explains your
Right.
unplanned on the waterfall. One of the biggest challenges I find with this is understanding the waterfall and what it means, but unplanned and unrecognized is stuff prior periods that you haven't run it for. Unrecognized. Unplanned means there's no dates in it and it doesn't know what to do with it.
Right. Yes. Yep. Yep. And Pavel had a good point. Just making sure that your periods are open under that, or you could bring it forward, I think, right? And just place it under your existing. But if we look at our now plan, we'll see that we do have that one journal entry on that. So this one here is complete. It's totally recognized 100% as well. And then you've got the rest of your year still getting through. So one thing within NetSuite, this is hard to get to, but this is probably the most valuable thing to look at. You can put this as a saved search as a sub list on, say, your item record or your sales order or something else that's tied to it for just better visibility. So it's something that NetSuite doesn't do out of the box that could be improved in a little customization tweak that can give you that better visibility, because your users don't want to bounce around to 3 screens to see like the true core as to what that is. And where this becomes really important is not per straight line, but if you've got a percentage complete, like if you're working on projects and you're showing percentage complete on your project, you want to see what your revenue recognition is based on that that view right on your project. So that is a really good sub list to add to. And again, it's just a saved search, and then you need to apply it to that transaction. Okay. So it gets a little bit tricky to do that, but very, very worthwhile doing it. And I can help you point you in the right direction on how to do that as well. All right. I think that's what I had for this demo. Mark, I do have a couple of slides on your questions that are related still to RevRec. We could pivot to those and then hand it over to Lisa for the other question. Let me see where. Oh, the other way. All right, so Mark had a question. What is the best way to handle corrections to invoices after the revenue recognition entries have been initiated? Does this differ if NetSuite is set up to consolidate multiple invoices? So the correct process is to correct your source transaction. Remember at the beginning when I was talking about correcting it on a sales order is much easier than correcting it on an invoice because you can always edit your sales orders. But invoices, close period, you don't touch it, credit rebill, and that's more transactions and more complications and harder to kind of chase problems and chase flow as well, right?
Although if you do end up doing credit and rebuild and merge your arrangements,
Then can help. Yes, absolutely. Good. Thank you, Rebecca. Did you guys hear that as well?
I didn't catch what was said there.
Say it again, Rebecca.
You can merge your revenue arrangements with tax credit and rebuild, so you can see exactly what happened on the revenue side.
So once you've corrected your source transactions, you can run your update revenue rec arrangements, the same two buttons that I pushed earlier on, and update your revenue recognition plans as well. And then, basically create your revenue recognition journal entries. And NetSuite's smart enough to know that, hey, I've already applied this. Now I'm going to just do the difference in a new journal entry in the next open period. So it's kind of cool that way that it kind of figures it out. It's like, oh, I see your plan changed and we need to recognize that revenue now in that new journal entry. So
Mark, is that
Yeah.
new functionality? Because 4 years ago, it was a nightmare. You had to do a credit note and redo it and all sorts of stuff. So that's obviously new.
Yep, I can do that
Get
now.
updated.
But you can always take the revenue from the credit and run it.
And figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, my biggest one of the issues is sales, doing revenue recognition on a sales order and the sales order getting cancelled. That gets a little hairy to undo.
Does.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I don't have a clear path on that answer, but I know that we've solved that with our telecom customer. Because that happens all the
You
time,
have to,
right?
last
Mid
idea
contract,
is what
somebody
Just
cancels.
zero out the amount on the sales order if you're canceling it. Make
Okay.
sure it's zero before you.
Okay.
And then you revenue update to zero.
Okay, but don't cancel your sales order
Until you
until
zero it out. Yeah.
right.
But, or you could just put, like, if you got a good, and then you just put a button that says cancel it, that zeroes erasing out.
Does it for the user? Yeah, in the UI. Good. Mark, I hope that kind of helped you a little bit with that question. Your second question was pros and cons of having NetSuite consolidate multiple invoices to a single revenue recognition journal entry. And is there like a threshold as well?
Depends how deeply your business analyzes revenue. It's like really the short answer. If they don't care where it came from, what country, whatever, you care.
Don't consolidate. Yeah. So I put together a little table for you, Mark, to hopefully answer some of this as just pros and cons. The pros are in greens, the cons are in red. And again, I can share this with you afterwards, but it really comes down to, if you've got, I think the recommendation is around 1,000 monthly revenue events, then if it's less than that, just do individual and keep it simple because it's easier to trace. But if you're above 1,000, it's too hard to manage that number of journals entries, but it will make tracing a little bit more difficult. And it's more for the savvy user to be able to, like, we can give them tools, right? Like as an admin and everything in NetSuite, we can give them safe searches to help them dig and find problems to sort that out. Okay.
And
That's kind of the
if you
advice.
have a high volume, then it's an extra cost.
Yes.
But
Yep.
it is also dependent on the frequency of your revenue recognition getting calculated. Like some people do not allow the revenue recognition plan to be created until month end because they keep mucking around with their transactions, and it's that much harder or just more time to fix stuff. And then by bulking it at the end of the month end, you could be looking at a day to process all your revenue arrangement in the first place.
Yeah, and the recommendation there is to run it maybe a mid-month or a few days out of your close of your month, just to see, are there any warning signs? Are there any issues that I need to deal with? Let's deal with them at a time. And then run your real rev rec, right, at close.
Yeah, I mean, I've got someone doing revenue recognition on cash sales, i.e. the other system is processing all their credit card transactions and it's booking for 12 months out. So they're reluctant to do it because credit cards bounce and all sorts of stuff. So they like to reconcile the cash before revenue kicks off. But it can get hairy.
Yeah, yes. Yep. Okay, so I hope that helps this revenue recognition without going super deep, guys. But if you guys want another session and go deeper on like a specific setup, then happy to do that in one of our lunchbox series. And we'll just carve out a little bit of time on that lunchbox as well, or we can do it in another in-person meeting, okay? All right. Okay, Lisa, you are going to tackle this question that came up. I'd like to generate comparative financial reports with customized date and period, not predefined options in NetSuite.
Yeah, you're going to have to let me share because it's grayed out.
Let me stop sharing and
I've got a feeling I'm not going to make you happy, but I'll try.
okay, you should be able to share now, Lisa.
Whoops. Yeah. Yeah. So typically when you come into here, and if I've misunderstood the question, holla, is you come in here and you go in down here and you say, look, relative to the report date, you then define what period range you're interested in. But then I always come in here and say, and give me the individual months. I find a fair bit of flexibility with this format to do that. So from a comparative point of view, that you would just come in again and say financial amount, this is my comparative column in theory, and then I would do the similar thing saying this fiscal quarter perhaps, this fiscal quarter, and then I might put month in there. But that's how you would get two comparatives and you put it in the range. Right. You also have the ability up here to then put what you want your column. Is that kind of answering the question? Because I need to go and find that question. It said comparative financial with a customized date, not the predefined options. The other thing that you can do is instead of relative to report date, you go to relative to the date and you hard code it, which is ugly because you don't want to hard code it every month, right? But you can hard code the month in question. Right. So I often, if I look at this, I might have something like 12 months Like I'll have a 12-month one that I set up at the beginning of the year so I can see what's going on. Whoever asked that question, can you elaborate a little bit more to let me know? It might be in the chat. Chat. Jinden.
Jinda, did you have any comments around that? I think you're able to unmute. All right, well, let's move forward. Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Right. Let's see where we're at in our agenda. All right, our sponsor. Yeah, sure. Have you joined our team session yet? Yeah, okay. Then you can just share right from your laptop and yeah, come on down. Doing it on time, guys. Finance questions, sponsor, we're ahead. Okay. Just a second while our sponsor gets set up here at the front, and then we'll have them share the screen as well. All right. Should I?
Yeah.
And will audio be from here?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Turn that on.
Actually, no.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
I'll go
we'll
from there.
just use mine.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, let me share here. Let's go. Thanks. And I think I need access to share, please.
And your name, sorry.
I'm Ashley, folks. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do a quick intro I set up here. So thanks everyone for having us today. I'm Ashley Logetz, and my partner and co-founder over there is Leo Hicks. We've both been in the NetSuite space here in Ontario. We're both based in Toronto for the last 15 years with a number of different NetSuite partners all over North America and independently as well. Ultimately leading to kind of what we're here to talk about today. So I will jump into this right now as I kind of get into the introduction here. And everybody, we are. Sorry, that looks like that should work, so we'll just go with that. I'm going to condense a larger presentation into about 5 to 6 minutes and then kind of run through the tool a little bit here. But basically, started off with a quiz. Does anybody know the percentage of people that use a release preview account in NetSuite, in all of NetSuite?
Very low.
You're closest. It's about 6% of users have a release preview account provision. people don't test. They don't like to. It's time consuming. They're bad at it. There's a lot of reasons why people don't test. And then they run into problems in production, and people like me get yelled at because I must have done something wrong when I deployed the change, right? Usually, no, I don't make mistakes ever. So kind of a couple things that we want to talk about today is that there's essentially a problem from a NetSuite perspective when it comes to testing. A lot of the testing that you do in the platform, whether it's on core functionality or customizations, doesn't lend itself to the automated testing tools that are available. Those are all code-based tools or developer-based tools for the most part, or they're browser-based UI tools. And so basically a couple of years ago, 2 years ago now, Leo and I kind of had a day where we were complaining about different things. I spend time working on NetSuite implementations and with Suite app partners in the Suite payment space. So I do a lot of BFN verification testing, twice annual testing on behalf of customers. Their number one complaint is it is too expensive. What are you doing that requires this amount of money? And my number one response is I don't want to be clicking these buttons. Make somebody else do it, but you don't have that ability. Leo came from a little bit of a different perspective or background where he was working on behalf of an enterprise customer within their team, and they just couldn't test enough. So we kind of had the same problem, but coming from different places. We tried the tools that were available to us at the time, which were, as I mentioned, browser-based or dev-based. Didn't really help what we were after. Hyper-specific to use cases that we had to build every single time. Almost more time consuming than actually just testing the thing, right? So there was kind of those problems. So the four main areas that we kind of set out to solve for were obviously customizations. As customization people, when things blow up in production, they have real impacts from a performance and, of course, dollar perspective. NetSuite releases, you're all going through one right now or have gone through one and have probably noticed some bugs in your NetSuite environment. And I know that most of you didn't use a release preview, so there's no denying that. Integration dependencies, obviously, and then things like compliance needs, whether pharmaceutical or SOX compliance or security compliance needs. NetSuite doesn't actually have a solution for that. So we created Swiftest. This is essentially two pieces, and it's two pieces because when we just did the tool, people were terrible at using it. And we were like, oh, we made it easier, and they still sucked at testing. What happened there? That's because the second problem when it comes to testing is a lot of people don't know what or how to test it properly. They know where they need to get to, they don't know how to get there. So we assigned a service to that as well too, so we can come full circle and allow for 100% native NetSuite testing inside the platform. I'm going to speed through a couple of things here really quickly so I can actually get into the platform. Here's all the fun stuff. Obviously, if you reduce the time you're spending testing, you can test more things. You can test more things. You have greater coverage of your NetSuite environment. You can release code faster. You can save money, or your companies can save money. That is where I'll end it there for that, and then I'll jump actually into the platform. So Swiftest is 100% inside of the NetSuite environment. Production, sandbox, release preview, trailing, leading demo accounts, wherever you need it to be, it can be there. This is a native Suite app. Most of that 2-year process that it took to get us here was just getting into the Suite app marketplace because NetSuite did not understand how to fit us into the space, given that it's very difficult to become part of the SDN. I don't know if anybody's ever done that, but it is not a fun process. So deployed 100% within your environment using your own data. The idea here is that you drop the spreadsheet. You're no longer going through a manual back and forth process of going into a spreadsheet, going into NetSuite, noting what's been done, having results on it, and probably having some issues along the way. So what we have here is kind of the home dashboard. And this is broken down into test cycles, groups, and cases in the exact same way you would break down how you go through your testing, or should break down how you go through your testing. So for our test groups, I have a couple of pretty straightforward examples. My examples can be module-based, or they can be hyper-specific. Hypothetically, we could do a RevRec test case scenario where we do the inputs, we do the configuration testing, and we do the output testing, or we could have a much more broad order-to-cache demo, test case that we go through. For people that just don't do any testing, so this would be people going through an implementation, maybe for the first time. We have some customers like that. They say, We don't know what to do. We just know we need to do it. We just do a full catalog for them, and we provide the catalog. Because like I said, people were bad at testing. So we provide the catalog to them. They run through. It's not about being 100% correct. You're never going to be 100% correct. It's about minimizing the failure rate and working on the exceptions that pop up, right? You can get hyper specific if you're trying to deploy a customization. You could build test cases around that. But really what you're doing is just speeding up the process of regression testing because it never works the first time. And if it does, you did something wrong. So I'm going to go into procure to pay here, for example, just to kind of show you how we create the catalog. So you can have like specific test cases. For the purpose of today and because of time, I'll go through a sort of full end-to-end run. So we've gone test group, test case, and now we're into the test step. So if you think about your planning of your testing, you're going to have the functional area you're testing, you're going to have the test cases, and then you're going to have the actual actions you've done. You should also have expected results and then the results that you track. So we'll look at a simple example here, the creation of a vendor bill. So what you're seeing in the top information is basically a description and information for what we're going to be testing. Along the left-hand side, you're seeing all the test cases in this module or in this group. These are going to be related to the things that you're doing here. So in this example, we're basically giving it a name, we're giving it a description, we're determining whether or not it should pass or fail. Sometimes you want a failure to consider that a pass. For example, if you're testing configuration, maybe you want to see if the checkbox is turned on or off for deploying RevRec test case scenarios. Then you're going to have your prerequisites. This is, again, where you kind of build in those efficiencies. Before we can create the vendor bill, we have to create the vendor. Maybe there's a test step for vendor approval. There's going to be a number of different pieces along the way, compounding that efficiency in your testing. Down here, you're going to have the action you're completing, create, edit a manual test case or a transform. In this example, we're just going to create a vendor bill. Here's the fun part. Inside of these fields, both the records and the body and line fields, it's reviewing this NetSuite instance. So whatever is in this account, whether it's custom records or standard records or modules, it's going to load the record. And then as you saw, it loaded the fields here that are related to this NetSuite environment. So this is how you get full coverage of your test scenarios. This is the most basic example we're looking at here. We've hard set that we're going to create a vendor bill. We're going to use this vendor. That's obviously internal ID. We're going to put a memo in there. We're going to put a location. We're going to put terms. These are the lines we're going to create. Any sublist can be sourced here as well, too. You could add multiple sublists. Great. You could now create this vendor bill. This one has failed. Why has it failed? The testing is not just about whether or not the record created. That's often not the case. The testing is about what your expected result is. That's where your validation criteria comes into play. So here, this is where you're saying before or after this test step has run, check something in this account. It could be the record we're testing, or it could be a record within the account, or it could be a sub-record of this test. You kind of see how you put all the pieces together to be more thorough here. This is what you're actually testing. In this case, we're looking to see that the field for referral vendor is not empty. In my example, meaning that a workflow ran and that field was populated on create of the record, right? So we could check before, we could check after, we could be thorough. And down here, we're also checking to make sure that the memo contains the word suite, because that's what I wanted to do today. When we run this, I have the ability to run this one off. I have the ability to run the whole thing off, and I can run them role-based or as admin. I'll take 2 seconds here to explain a lot of what's happening on this because there's a lot of heavy lifting going on here. We can do one test execution. We can do repetitive testing. So if you have an automation that you built, could be workflow-based or SuiteScript-based, inside of your environment, generally, that's going to have some type of performance impact on your system, especially if it's like MapReduce, let's say, for example. If you build that and you run 50 executions of vendor bills, you're going to get data on how long it takes on average to create those vendor bills. That could be because of your script. So what you might do is you might run 50 of these off before you deploy your script, run 50 of them once you've deployed it, compare the times, and then understand what impact you have. Then you might make changes to your script and run 50 more of these and see if you made it better or worse. That could be one example. You could obviously populate an account this way. You could do a number of things this way. The other thing you can do is run these records against a saved search or based on a saved search. Why that's important is because if you have integrations, if you have data you want to test against that's already in the system, you don't want to create, you want to just use what's already in the system, you can feed these test cases, and more importantly, the validations through a saved search. So hypothetically, we've got a scenario where a customer has information that comes in through Salesforce. They don't trust the data that's coming in through Salesforce through Boomi. So what they do is they bring the information into NetSuite, and then we look at the payload that came in through validation criteria and the record itself and compare. Do the tax lines match? Do the line items match? This, whatever, and provide a response. And we do it all based on a saved search. So they can run that daily. They could even run that in real time if they hypothetically wanted to prove that every record was correct. So I'm going to run it just manually here right now just to kind of show. But basically the idea here is that this goes off and does two functions. So can anybody create a vendor bill faster than that, by the way? I just want to make sure that we don't have any technological anomalies in the room. But this failed. And it failed because the body field memo expected sweet, and we found created with Swiftest. Not a big deal, but this compounded over all the testing you need to be doing in your account, then provides you with a report that you didn't have to create. That's really the number one thing here. So when you go to your test case results, when you're all said and done, you then have this auditable list of things that you can review and provide to somebody. And it can show them any errors, any passes, successful failures, who did it. You can assign a reviewer and have it reviewed by for SOX compliance. You can also view the records that were created. You can delete the records that were created. You can do a number of different things with this. But that is the idea behind kind of running this on the server side. The other piece here, too, is that arguably the biggest piece is that I mentioned things never work the first time. You have to always spend the same amount of time retesting when you're doing it manually, right? If you go to create the vendor bill, it doesn't work. You got to do it all over again. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but on the 8th time, you're punching your keyboard. Here, you click the button again and run it again, right? That's kind of the idea. This is set up for speed of regression testing. Kind of getting into time here, so I'll speak quickly on the last two features. This covers server-side testing, integrations, scripts, performance, a number of different things, but there are sort of two more areas that aren't covered here. So we did solve for that as well, too. We have created essentially the client drawer. So if you were to go to a transaction, you could open Swiftest inside of the record. So for example, we were just looking at the create vendor bill. There's our test case. Let's say you had client scripts or workflows that ran in the record in the UI. You could set the fields based off of your test case that's established. So here we set the entity. It then set other fields. We can watch the script expire. Here we're setting a memo. The memo just got set. You can do all of that inside of the record and then review the results. You can set sublists and then you can run your validations. Just, again, giving you that holistic approach to when you do provide that report to somebody saying, I've thoroughly tested this, or at least I've done more than the normal human could do. Here's all the ways we've done that. The final way, which is our newest feature, is by recording your experience in NetSuite and then playing it back. So I've already pre-recorded one. I'll just kind of run it back for you here really quickly. Basically what it does, the people on the screen won't be able to see this one. It's in another window, which is currently not sharing. Sorry, give me one sec. So let's see if I might have broken it, but basically, as you go through it, yeah, I did break it. Sorry, I'll do the whole window. Sorry, folks. Essentially, you record your steps beforehand, and then you can run them back again and again and again. So here I have a scenario where we'll run the test. It's going to look through features, and which one did I grab here? There we go. So it's going to go through different steps. There it clicked accept payment. It's going to tell you what it's doing. This is good for any type of, my hands are touching the screen or keyboard right now. It is entering the date. It is entering the class. It's going to enter some memo here in a second, and then it's going to select the payment method. So for like my payment partners, they have to test that. So you can see behind the scenes what's actually being submitted into NetSuite. Just because we click a button, there are many things that are happening obviously behind the scenes. So there, like it set the memo, and then it's going to select the payment method next and kind of track each step as it goes through it. But as I was saying, for my payment partners, they have to check that for example, credit card authorization hits the gateway and comes back with a specific message. So they could see that happening because you can't do that on the server side. You can run those back again and again and again. Sometimes they take a long time depending on your connection, but yeah, you have the full ability to do that and run that in bulk. So that's the 40-minute presentation in 9 minutes. Does anybody have any questions?
Does it do like its own data cleanup afterwards at all? I guess you'd be right.
That's right. You can delete what you've created. So I actually did it earlier today, but basically when you go to your test case step, there's a button that appears under the results to delete the test case results. There's also a kill switch, so you cannot run it if you don't have it turned on.
Does it come pre-populated with like the base test that you should be doing?
That's right. 316 test cases, I believe. That number might have changed, but that's the number I'm going to say right now. And it comes pre-populated. There is some configuration to set it up with your data, either in the hard set values like I showed, or based on a safe search.
Does it
So yes, they're not specific, like you can call it SOX compliance test, but it's basically a approval flow that has a reviewed by section on it. And that comes with that. So you can have like a reviewer set. So
more like test journal people can only be done by certain roles, etc.
Yes, you still have to execute it, but yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then for that compliance, you can also set a reviewer and then make sure they actually check the box to be reviewed by, and only the person who's set as the reviewer can check the box. Yeah. Awesome. Well, folks, if you do have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. We're local, and yeah, thank you for having us.
Awesome. Good. Thank you. It's great having a sponsor today. Like that is local, right? You guys are in the Toronto area.
Yeah, I'm in Pickering and Leo's in Toronto, but
Yeah. Fantastic.
it's nice to not have to travel. I was in Austin last week and going to Pennsylvania next week, so it's nice to be home.
That's awesome.
What would you say the training time is needed in order to learn and implement your product?
There are 2 1-hour sessions. The first is someone like Leo. There are 2 1-hour sessions. The first one is a resource like Leo who will evaluate what your test scenarios would be, either like full blank catalog or specific things that you want to customize. During that time, they'll also try to get sample data sets. What vendor do you want to use? What type of employee? That kind of thing. And then they'll go off and configure the catalog for you and come back and go through a dry run with you. We don't start the count of execution until you have your test case ready to go, but we are execution based in terms of pricing. But yeah, so basically 2 hours of configuration and 5 minutes for deployment.
Okay, and then so the pricing based on the number of tests you actually end up running.
That's right. So we have it basically slated out for users who don't test, so 500 executions or less, 2,500 executions, which covers most people, and then unlimited for enterprise users.
And that unlimited is what, for a year, I presume?
That's for a year. That's right. Correct.
And you're international from the point of view, if I have NetSuite in Singapore?
For sure. Yeah, if you're using a one world account, there's no issue there.
Right. Cool. It looks easy. It looks nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, great work, guys. That's pretty unique tool. Yeah, awesome. See some great benefits for that. All right, we're a little ahead of schedule today. It's fantastic. So I've got us resuming maybe at 10:50. That sounds all right. That gives us about 9-10 minutes, guys. Again, there's coffee, tea, I think other drinks. There's water here on the tables as well that they've brought out. The washrooms outside down the hallway, like turn right outside the hallway down by the elevators. Okay. and we'll reconvene at 10 2. Okay, awesome, great, thank you.
So next me, somebody else.
Dashboards is not.
With your driver.
I'm headed to the Toronto office today, so like,
Where's your office?
it's like Canadian University.
Everyone try to that. It would be kind of outside of your way, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst, it's, yeah. Take the internet and try to like.
You always come in your town? They have them?
When they have the in-person, I just was on. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you show me how you're doing both types on the transaction?
Yeah, I can't right now,
Okay,
but yes,
yeah, I'm like, thing kills me.
let me jot it down. We'll probably tackle it after, and I'll get one of my colleagues
Can you just
to give you a shout.
screenshot?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you just.
Work for Trust Corps?
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
That's the replacement for drywall,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay, that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a little demo.
Cool.
I used to work in construction, so.
Oh, yeah?
Saw a little demo from it, and
Nice. Yeah.
it's, yeah, pretty cool that you guys making more moves, I know you guys, when I went, they were talking about having it indoors and in houses.
Right. Yeah,
So,
that's the goal.
yeah, it looks pretty cool. I think it's a neat product for quick and easy, right?
Yeah.
I think they had basements where.
Yeah, people who are their basement, garage, it started in the garage, but then
Yeah.
kitchens, so, sunrooms, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
We're selling more and more overseas, Chile, anywhere where it's warm, or humid. Caribbean, we're starting to get more. Yeah.
See, okay.
Come off mute. All right, we're about ready to start, and we're going to get into our dashboards presentation. I think we got everybody back in the room almost. Can you grab the door? Yeah. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk dashboards and Fuse Health. Stephanie's on our board, and her fellow colleagues put together a little video for us to demonstrate some of their dashboard. So we're going to get you to share your screen. Who are you logged in as on the team? Stanish guy. Great. We'll make you a presenter. I'm going to put my teams up here again. So when you're sharing, just make sure you're sharing computer sound. If you have a voiceover or sound, I don't know how you're doing your video. If you're talking to the video or
No, it has a voiceover already.
awesome.
Play the video, but it's not giving me share option yet.
Okay, you should be in there. Let's try this one. Oh no, I clicked on the wrong one. Sorry. It's disappearing. Like there it is. Okay. Perfect. So weird. Make it any larger than larger. Oh, yeah.
Click on the.
Okay.
No, that's not the screen. So.
Which one?
The screen. The top right button. That's fine. Hold on. This in the middle. Right one. Hold on. See the top right button. No, let's just share this on the screen again.
Just share.
If you right click in that screen area somewhere, I believe there's like a full screen or something that should.
Yeah.
Like you right click anywhere in there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Pop up. Yeah, there it goes. Pop up.
Stop sharing.
Yeah, I just included sound now. I think it should be good.
Yeah, there's a pop out button. What is it?
You came over here. Why don't I? There's technical difficulties. Hold on.
Hello everyone. Today we'll be doing a quick video walkthrough of how to add portlets to your NetSuite. Hello everyone. Today we'll be doing a quick video walkthrough of how to add portlets to your NetSuite dashboard and sort of trying to figure out how to make your NetSuite dashboard work for you. So in today's example, we'll be using our organization, which is Fuse Health, and for context, we're a medical communications consulting agency. So over here, we have an example of a saved search that we've pulled, and it's populating into our dashboard. Now, the saved search is called the FHI burn report, so the Fuse Health Incorporated burn report. And we've created this example for CANSUG. And essentially what this portlet does is it pulls our different projects that our agency takes on, and then it also pulls the burn rate for these associated projects. Now, what is a burn rate? So to explain it simply, our organization has projects that we take on, and each of these projects has a sales order. Now, these sales orders are made up of two components, which are agency fees and out-of-pocket costs. Now, burn rates, which we'll be talking about today and which this report is pulling, are only focused on those agency fees. So let's focus in on that part. Now, a burn rate specifically, so these percentages that are being pulled here are the actual dollars that are worked as part of agency fees divided by the total amount of agency fees in our sales order. And again, this does not include our out-of-pocket costs. So essentially what our burn rate is pulling is a percentage of how many hours have we spent on this particular project so far. And that percentage shows us how much time or budget we have left on that project. So as you can see here, we have our top project here is at 107% burn rate, right? And it's highlighted red because it shows that this project is actually over budget right now. So we're above that 100% mark. And then we also have examples of projects that are sort of nearing or approaching budget below that. And those are highlighted in the orange color. Now, this is a feature of the Save Search that we've actually went in and customized so that it pulls and highlights these results this way. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to show you in 1 second how to sort of create this kind of report on your dashboard by using saved searches. So let's go ahead and do that now. So where you're going to go is if you go to your report section and then you go under saved searches and then you can create a new search from like scratch. But for the purpose of this video, I've already started us up with a example saved search. So I'm going to go ahead and click edit here, and it will bring me to this edit page for this saved search. So now we have a bunch of different options here, right? We can customize our title, the owner is me, and then we have different options that we can select here. It's very important that you have this option selected specifically because this is what makes it available to you as a dashboard view. So you can go ahead and look at these settings and just kind of try to mirror the same check boxes here. And then now we can go through our different tabs that we have here. So we have a criteria tab here, which essentially allows you to kind of pull what are the main things that are important to your organization to have displaying in this portlet on your dashboard. So for us in this example, it would have been the project expense type. So we only want to pull our regular projects, so to speak, which are projects that we try to track on a weekly or even daily basis to make sure that we're coming in on budget, right? And then we also wanted to have our project status for projects that are in progress, because those are projects that we're actually concerned with tracking our budget on a either daily or weekly budget, or sorry, daily or weekly schedule, because our project managers are responsible for keeping track of those burn rates and making sure that we don't go above 100%, for example. And then lastly, our subsidiary, which is Fuse Health, as I mentioned before. Now, if we go into our results tab, this is where it gets a little bit interesting and where you can actually do a lot more customization in terms of what you want your portlet to pull onto your dashboard. So what's important to you? So in this example, obviously we've spoken about burn rates already. So this is exactly what we've added here in terms of fields. So we have our project name and our burn rates. Those are the two most important to us to have showing in this dashboard view. So you can go ahead and customize these fields how you'd like. So for example, if you wanted to, you could add a row, and then if you click this little chevron, you have a bunch of different options that you can add in terms of like an actual end date of our projects, or if address is important to you, that's another field that you can add. For example, there's different metrics here that you can use to populate onto your homepage. So really, it's up to you in terms of what kind of option or field you want to populate there. Now, I just also want to flag here that burn rate is actually a custom script that was created for our organization in NetSuite. And this is something that we've done on our end, and it's not something that shows up as a default option. So that is something that you can also do within your organization if you feel that there's a specific metric that you would like to track that's important to your organization. It's something that you can work with NetSuite to kind of create for yourselves, and then you can add it here as a field so you can track it on your dashboard. So here, those are were our two most important fields, and that's what we've added here. And then we wanted to also sort by our burn rates. So descending, we clicked this descending option because we wanted the highest burn rate projects to show up at the top of the list, because that's what our project managers are most concerned with. Or those are the projects that are sort of in that danger zone of either going above budget or approaching budget, right? So that's sort of an option that we selected there. And yeah, that's sort of our results tab. Now, if we move on to highlighting, this is a really cool feature, especially if you want to track a certain metric day by day or even week by week, because it allows you to sort of at a glance just quickly see what are the projects that are either at risk, what are the projects that are actually going over budget. So if you remember back to the example that I showed you on the homepage, there were certain projects that were highlighted in red. And the reason why it was doing that is because we actually created this condition here where if burn rate is greater than or equal to 100%, it would highlight the text in red, right? And that's something that we created on the back end, and that's why it populates that way. Similarly, we did the same thing for orange for projects that have burn rates between 75 to 100%. So sort of approaching that budget area. Now, I want to just show you how you could add a highlighting option as well, if you would like. So if we go in, you can say add a condition. So then you can just go ahead and start typing in, or actually you can click this filter button and it'll open this little dialog box. And then if you search up, so what we want to do is burn rates, right? So we'll click our burn rate, and then burn rate will say the condition that we want to set is, let's say we want to also color code for healthy projects. So projects that are under 75% burn rate. So what we could do is go and click less than, and then we'll say 75, which is the value of our burn rates. Okay, and we're going to add this condition, and we're going to set it. So now we have this condition added. And then what else we're going to do is we're going to say text color. Now, because these projects are healthy or they're under budget, we'll color it green for the sake of this example. And then if you want to bold, we can do that as well. Let's just do that to be consistent. And then let's go ahead and save this. Okay, now we will go back to our available filters tab. And here, these are just different filters that you can use in case there are, they are helpful for you. So in this example, we filter by either project name, or project managers that are responsible for those projects, or account directors, or the status of the project. So these are very customizable. So let me give you some examples of what you can kind of add as filters for your portlet. So for example, if you have certain accounts that you would like to see on your homepage, that's something that you can select. If you want to filter by like something like a BAI, which is a different metric that we use, you can do that as well, or even by billing schedule or billing type. So again, there are a lot of different options for you to kind of play around with and customize based on your unique needs. And then lastly, if we go to our audience tab, just to kind of show you that there's a lot of different filters and customizations that you can play around with in NetSuite, but these were sort of the main ones that we want to focus on for today. And now that we've went ahead and showed you how to create this in the backend, let's show you how to actually save this save search, and how do we get it onto our dashboard. So now that's been saved, let's pretend that our dashboard was blank and we had nothing set up. So let me remove this as well. We had nothing set up. So now let's go and show you how to add it from scratch onto your homepage. So if you click personalize and then you click custom search, right, it'll give you this little box that is empty for now. But then if you click setup and you go to the search, so just remember back to what you titled your saved search. So we titled it FHI burn report dashboard and our CANSUG example. So let's go ahead and click that. Now result size. So how many projects do you want to pull onto your main page? Let's just go with an even number of 10. And then the rest of these options you can kind of just keep the same. And let's go ahead and there it is. It will pull onto your dashboard. Now you can see these were the filters that we were talking about earlier. So by project manager, account director, etc. And then you also see here that our highlighting criteria that we just added about the green color in terms of all projects that are below 75% has actually been applied and implemented in this view. So we can see that anything below 75% is now highlighted in green. And then we still have our orange and red as we did before. And yeah, that's sort of just an example of how to play around with your with save searches so that you can add these kinds of tools onto your dashboard. And I hope that was helpful. Hopefully you can use this information to kind of play around with options and settings that are helpful for your organization. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, great demonstration. Thank you. Great demonstration of, yeah, safe searches, the dashboards, and, maybe just open it up to anyone else. Anyone have other cool ideas that you're doing and utilizing with dashboards today that you'd like to share with the group?
We've started making pretty heavy use of custom portlets and doing a lot of scripting on the back end. So for example, on our project dashboard now, we have a custom portlet that provides a bunch of information about the project all in one portlet instead of having to look through multiple save searches. So we'll display like basic info like the name and details of the project, but also summaries of all of the budgets, both hours and dollar values. We'll highlight those in red or green, depending on whether they're favorable or not. And then also provide links to some other saved searches related to the project that helps pull a lot of info together. So it's just overall custom portlets have been fantastic for us.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, yep, good, great, good. Anyone else? Save searches are pretty easy. I do find when you get into the native NetSuite, like the KPIs, you really need to, especially if you're a multinational, like multi-currency environment, it can get a little bit tricky on the dashboard as to what the currency, is it being converted? The currencies, is it native currency? And you're looking at different things. What we found in our best practices were to try and create custom KPIs around that, so that you're just looking at Canadian dollars for a Canadian business, just looking at US dollars for a US business. Keep it kind of separated, division of duties, because you never know. Everybody's got a different role, and if they're adding it to a dashboard, then it's much easier to know that, hey, this safe search is the Canadian only versus a US as well. And I hope everybody's using reminders in the system too, right? The reminders on the dashboard sometimes get overlooked, but they're fantastic for approvals and to-do lists. And again, you can customize any of those based on safe searches too for the users. Yeah. Awesome, great. Okay, thank you again. Thanks. Yeah. All right, next up will be AI. Gavin, you all set?
All set.
Are you able to share?
I can.
Should be in the top. Yeah.
Just on the subject of portlets. So we just built and put it on the screen.
Which one?
It's on the others.
You have to move the thing.
My presentation? Or
So
what would you like to see?
It shows that he's sharing it.
I'm sharing my screen.
Oh, you are sharing it?
You can't see it in there. There we go.
Okay. This one.
So just on the subject of portlets, we have a lot of service fields that we process for maintenance of machines and that sort of thing. And it was a pain in the ass for our logistics team, because you get to the end of the month and then finance would be like chasing them to receive POs, and they didn't like doing it because they're receiving something that's not physical, they're not actually receiving it. So we've gone to a model of having the person that places the service PO receive it themselves automatically. I don't place any, so that's why I don't have any here. But we just launched this, and so this shows any open POs with the service item on them, and then they'll actually be able to go down here and check the line against. They won't show all the ones that they're meant to receive. There's a date on there that says the date is meant to be completed. We start emailing them like 7 days before, saying it's complete, and then they can actually go and into this portlet and actually process the receipt in the background without having them going to do anything else in the PO. So you can a portlet, you can actually have it do something that's not just analytics. It can actually process things in the background too. So
Is that a custom portlet or what's the?
it is.
I was going to say, we want to see that function.
And we also figured out how to do it in the employee center. So a lot of our guys, we've just put a custom center on the employee center, and they can process receipts that using an employee center license, not a full license, which is kind of cool.
Custom portlets and suitelets are a great way to get around limitations to the employee center.
Okay, that was the non-AI part of the presentation. So I'm Gavin. I'm with TrustCore. We make sustainable building materials, so basically a PVC drywall alternative. So I worked at NetSuite for 12 years before that, and started on IT there. We do a lot of things with AI. We've got a bunch of customizations. I'm going to talk about the standard tools. I'm going to talk about some other tools that we've used. I'm going to show you some examples in Claude. There's a question mark against ChatGPT because I've not been able to get ChatGPT to work with the MCP connector. And nobody on Reddit has been able to tell me how to do it. So I'm unsure if it works or not. But it absolutely works in Claude. So NetSuite launched this. It started off as being sampling tools, and they very quickly made it standard tools. And so even though it says here that you can have it create records, it won't create records or edit records out of the box. There's some other scripting you have to do to make it do that, but the potential is there for it to do those things. But it can read reports, it can read your saved searches, and we'll run custom SweetQL as well to try and find the answer that you're looking for. This is all just from help, but this gives you a more depth into what it can potentially do. The nice thing about Claude as well is that it actually shows you what it's doing. It shows you what it's running as it's doing it. Sometimes, even though it takes a long time to get there, you can kind of follow its logic, and then you can sometimes prompt it in the right direction to get the information that you actually need. Pretty simple. The biggest thing we've discovered, first of all, I'm not sure if it's still the case, but when I installed it, you can't do it in Sandbox. It only works in production. So if you're nervous about that, then you're out of luck right now. You need to have the Pro version, which is $24 a month. Or if you do it annually, it's $208 a year, which is 17% off. Installation is really simple. There's a sweet answer that tells you how to do it. It has the hyperlink you have to use, and it is tied to a role, so it only has access to whatever that role has access to in NetSuite.
But don't attach it to the admin role.
You can't attach it to admin.
Good.
It's not possible. So the other thing is, so I'm going to show you some examples that I've done. I might do a live one, although I'm already at 90% of my allowance for today, so it might be a short example. But there's other things you can make it do, or there's other things you can do to refine the responses you get. So there's preferences that will apply to everything that you ask it based on your account. There's projects that let you divide it up into different specialities, kind of thing. And then there's this thing called skills that I just discovered. And I'm going to show you a skill that was shared to me by someone at NetSuite whose name will remain nameless because it's not public yet. But I'll give you an idea of what you can do to tell Claude what it is you're looking for and how to process the information, things like that. So this is your preferences. So it's just got your name, you choose a description of your work, which kind of gives it some other information. But then you can also go in here and you can tell it something else. You can tell it, keep it brief. You can tell it what sort of answers you're looking for. You can say that you prefer graphical versus table outputs, that sort of thing. But when you do that, it basically, again, applies to everything you ask it. Then there's projects. So if you create projects, you can have, if you have a team account, then you can have multiple people collaborate on a project, and then create different projects, and then have different skills and you can actually attach documents, backup documents, other skill. I'm going to talk about skills in a second. You could attach those to it. So you could have one project for marketing and tell it to also look at Salesforce information or give us some other information. You could have a different project for manufacturing, give us some other information about the product, that sort of thing. And then you can have more project specific information that you give it. That's not overall. And then skills, I'm going to show you the one I have in a second. Is basically I opened it in Notepad, you'll see in a second, and you can basically give it a long list of instructions, what you prefer. In this case as well, I've started to use it to do things like define what our fiscal calendar is, because even though it's connected to NetSuite, it seems unable to identify what your fiscal calendar is. So you can, in the skill, you can say this is our fiscal year starts on this date, and it knows. I've started to map out some custom fields and records that we have that are critical. We have a lot of customizations on the item record, so we tell it to go and look at those. You can tell it how to look at intercompany transactions. A lot of their standard reports don't work for us because we have a lot of intercompany stuff. You can tell it how to handle those, what to ignore, that sort of thing. And we started to do some expense analysis work and discovered it wasn't the numbers weren't matching. So we started in the skill, you can tell it specifically the GL accounts. Or we're actually looking at adding checkboxes to the accounts that says this is an expense account for AI sort of thing. And then just tell it to go and look at those accounts instead. I'm going to actually show you the Notepad. So this is I got this from NetSuite. I think this will probably be public at some point. And so this is just one of the things that they've worked with. So they've got information here about branding. So you could put a hyperlink in here to your company logo and tell it to use that branding. It's got some core principles. Don't explain what you do, just do it. Use standard reports. Don't show internal IDs. This is the currency format you want to use. Things like that. This is a long document. So execution order. So look at reports first, then save searches, then blah blah blah. Other available tools to look at. Tell it how to define a problem. You can explain the data as well that you have. Right at the end down here, I've started to list out our custom fields that we have specifically on the item records. So this is basically the main section. Then you can have item custom fields, transaction custom fields, that sort of thing. So we're going to give it more and more information. So and so I mean, you can just build up as a company, and it'll help understand more how to share what it's doing. So that's same sort of thing. The skills. So let's go and look at Claude before we talk about other stuff. So this is the main interface here. Yep. This gives you a list of chats that I've done recently, and everything from creating a dashboard, cost analysis. I got this one from, if you follow some NetSuite people on LinkedIn, I can give you some people to follow. And they're posting like what they're doing with Claude. And so this is one that I grabbed from my buddy Hassan, where you basically tell it to go and analyze all of your scripts and workflows and that sort of thing, and create a system health audit. So then it goes through and gives you all its findings. I found that when it first did it, that it seemed to be really concerned with how many inactive customers we had, which I don't really care about because they're inactive for a reason. And so it gave me one thing, and then I told it ignore inactive records, and so it just goes and does it again. It ignores the inactive records. But then the thing that's really nice about all this, though, is the output it gives you at the end. So when you click on this, then it goes and gives you a nice rendering of, we have a 78% score, which is pretty good. It analyzes your master data, and this is pretty representative of the type of output that it will give you. Org structure, customizations. It's telling there's no visible change control. I guess we don't have Swiftest, so and other risks, etc. So that's kind of an interesting one. And then you can do things that are more ordinary, like inventory. Let me just see. I'm almost at my limit for today, but I'll give you an example. Hopefully it's going to just that won't show you. So let's say TC16. This is one of our items. Current inventory position. And you'll see it goes, it'll start, see it's telling me, it's giving me a warning. I've used 90% of my session limit. You get tokens per day, and then you get tokens per week based on the level. I have the pro level, and then you can turn it on so that it won't bill you if you go over it. So you can just tell, and then it just charges your credit card. I've not done that yet because we're not using it enough. But you can see it's telling you what it's doing. It's like looking for. The annoying thing is, so even though this the NetSuite MCP connector, it's looking for a safe search to find the on-hand quantity. Whereas I could just go into NetSuite and go down here, and there's on-hand quantity, right? So you think there'd be a quicker way for it to go and do that? Now it's going down to bin level, and it's looking at open POs. I didn't ask it about OPOs. I just said, tell me how many I have. But eventually it'll tell me how many I have, and it'll tell you how many are inbound and that sort of thing. But it's kind of interesting to see the way what it's doing. It's filtering. It tells you that it's running searches first. Again, this could be also based on the skills that I have applied. So I might be able to tell it to go and use look at inventory balance record first before running another safe search, that sort of thing. Consolidating inventory data. So it's not always quick, but I'll show you an example in a minute of something it's really good at. There you go. That wasn't too bad. So there's on hand available, and then there's a gap. There you go. It's telling me I need to pay more money. And then it's showing you open work orders, which is useful, open demand, and a little summary at the end. So pretty useful stuff. Let me show you an example of something that I discovered by mistake. I asked it this a while ago, summarize the 10 most unsafe searches. And so it did, but then it showed all these ones, and it said, what was it? It said that, there you go. It said triggered on record view. And so I tried to try and run like safe search consumption before, like to figure out which searches are being run. And it's impossible as far as I can tell to tell the difference between a safe search that someone has actually searched for and run off a dashboard versus you're just opening a form and there's a sub list that runs. It figured it out somehow. So it knows that, I'm sure the information's there somewhere, it's just not publicly available. So it figured out which ones were being searched because you're just opening a record or being searched by Sligo, that sort of thing. So I went back this morning and I said, there you go, give me the safe search summary, actually run by user, not by opening a form. And so it managed to go through and give me a list of the top searches that it thinks are being opened by people. Expense reports, open order summary. I think these are on people's dashboards, but still it's better than just being on a form and they're not actually looking at it. Pending order shipment, that sort of thing, inventory second counts to approve. And then it gave me a little asked to do by department. And again, I'll create this artifact in a nice format that you can then share, by the way, with other people who don't have Cloud. And so I asked it by departments, 8 departments, 838 user searches. 24 profiles, 6 of them are flagged, and it gives you a nice little summary of the ones that are being run most often and some things, other interesting things. You also just do things that just say, tell me something interesting about my NetSuite account, and it'll just go and look at your information and say, oh, this is something that's interesting about your account, and I'll show it to you. When you first install it, you have to go under settings. And so when you install the Claude, the MCP connector, this is where you have your profile. And then under capabilities, this is where you would go and add your skills. So there's the skill that I showed you that in the notepad before. So you can have multiple skills. Having multiple ones, I think when we do it, won't probably happen by role or by different functional area, and then break them down, let people add them and enable them and disable them and test different results. But basically, you can go in here and this is where you would have once you install it, you'll have this MCP connector, and then it will say connect. It'll open up your NetSuite login page. So you have to log in as a role that has access to the MCP connector. So that's how it knows. And then under configure, there's it used to give you a list of there you go. So you can tell it which things to allow and not allow. If you want to block someone from doing something, then you can do that. You can do that too. So then the other thing we're thinking about creating, we're using NetSuite WMS for picking for shipments. We're using Smart Count for cycle counts. I really want to replace both of those at some point with a custom app of some sort. So I've not been able to actually show this yet because I've not downloaded all the right tools. But I told it to create me a mobile app that can run on Android, iOS, can parse the GS1 barcode that's used for cycle counting. And the way it took like half an hour. I went and created I actually created like a mobile app that you could download. And then I tried to download it, it said failed, and I said it wouldn't work, so the download failed. And so I went to and it created a different download in two different forms, and then it gives you like a breakdown. There's a README doc as well that it tells you. It actually built it in a way that it's ready to integrate with NetSuite. It's not integrated yet. It organized the data in a way that it is. And so I've not done this final part yet. They basically use React. It React's like a mobile UI tool that's available online. So it built it using that React tool. So I should be able, if I download the React development toolkit, I should be able to plug it in and actually see how it works. So I'll get there eventually. So that's the mobile app, save searches. Oh, this is kind of fun. I did this one this morning while Mark was presenting. I asked it for a map of our customers based on billing address over the last 6 months. And it's kind of funny because it gave me a map, but it didn't actually give me the map. But you can tell it looks like North America though. And that's like, and red is Canada, and blue. It made Canada red and it made the US blue, right? But you can tell that's North America. So then I said, can you overlay this on an actual map? And then it did. It actually did. It didn't do it here, but it got a Google map and overlaid it. And if you click on the dot, it shows you who the actual customer is and the amount that was shipped to that location. And then I said, use the shipping address. So this was 72 locations across North America. So then it gets to 407 because you're using the shipping address. So same sort of thing. So that was kind of a good last minute little use case of it. I still like this better if I could get the map underlaid in it. But yeah, well, that was kind of cool. And yeah, and then this one's kind of funny again. just things I wanted to go and play with it and see what it could do. Everything, all our goods we sell are lot tracked. And so I had the idea that, what if we're looking for a particular lot number? In NetSuite, if you get to the lot number, there's actually like a search transactions, and it shows you all the transactions, but that lot number was processed under. So it was built, shipped. This is the wave it's picked on. It was received back on the 26th. There was an adjustment, and it was shipped out again. So I thought that'd be fun. Let's go and ask it transaction history and most likely location of this lot number. And it took it like 10 minutes. And it didn't really, it kind of gave me like a summary. It couldn't get to the assembly build, which is the transaction that actually has a lot number on it. It got me to the right work order. And it knows who it was shipped to. So it tells me it's probably there. So that part was right. And it gave me the IF number. And then I said, can you just find the specific assembly build? And then create it. And so then it gave me this. And then I took a screenshot. I gave it a screenshot. It will actually, if you just paste in a screenshot from something, then it will read the screenshot and tell you that it's. Sometimes with the inventory ones, one of them it said we didn't have any in stock, so I took a screenshot of the item location list, pasted it in, and it said, "Oh, I read this number wrong," and it corrected itself. So you can just paste in screenshots, and that works too. And there you go. Then if it eventually went and found the right build with all the information on it. So sometimes it takes some working with it. It's not always going to be as quick if you're good with safe searches as going and doing it yourself. But for something like that safe search example, where it obviously has access to more information than I have access to, and you can just let it go and work on it, and then come back to it half an hour later, then it works. That works pretty well. So other examples. So if you go and search on Suite app right now, and you look for AI agent, there's already 7 partners who have an AI agent product available for NetSuite. We also have our design partners with a product called Emirates. They sponsored before. They're also, they were focusing just on NetSuite. Now they're looking at SAP as well. So they've gone to more of a web app than they have. Initially, would work in Teams or something. So they're more web app. So they've made some changes to their product. So I did the same thing, the same question to them as I did with Claude. This took a minute longer, but it gave me the more accurate result. So you can ask the same sort of thing. They gave me like I also asked it for the allocation summary. We used supply allocation in our account, and it nailed it straight away. Claude didn't know what the allocation was initially until I told it for it to go and look. So it came up with on hand, available, allocated, quantities on order, etc. A nice little summary, and it gave me a list of the top 10 customers who have or orders that the allocations are for. So it works pretty well. The thing that changed with this now is just kind of nice. So they have not just chats, they have reports. So they have suggested reports. So you can have like a dead inventory report, that sort of thing. Lead time performance report. You can tell it to use that template. Well, it's going to take too long to go and do it. But the thing I like about this is that it will run the report. It will show you the preview of it here. If it's good, you can say approve, and then it moves into this approve phase. And then you can save it, and you can have it prompt you with the results of that report, daily, weekly, whatever, and or other people as well. And then so you can just have a daily report of or whatever. So I like the kind of build, review, approve, and then configure aspect to it. And so here's my 4 that I have configured. And if you want to go and run one at any time, you can just go and say view details. Oops. Why is it not showing me that now? Then mode. It's doing CSV, but you can tell it to go and you can go and change the frequencies so that it's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, weekly at this time, and it prompts you at that time with the results of the report. And right now it comes in my Claude. So I have Emmy as a contact in Teams, and so she goes and puts it in here. That the time that you specify every day. So, questions, comments?
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's accuracy. Like when you pull the data, you try to analyze the data.
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, even today, again, one of the ones I mentioned, I get asked it the same thing. There you go. Same question I asked Emmy. Current inventory and allocate summary for this item. And it came back and it said we had 0 on hand. There you go. We said we had none. So then I pasted in a screenshot, and it said this is what NetSuite's showing me, and it says, "Oh, good catch." And then it went and redid it again, and it got the right number. So you got to go out and eyes wide open, and I knew that they didn't have 0 because it's one of our top selling items. So I'm not sure why it's so hard for it to get something like that should be so easy. So trusting it is for sure an issue if you have to validate it every time. But it does have the ability and the capacity to go and do things that you can't do, and you can use that to lead you in the right direction, I think. So just don't believe everything it tells you.
It is great to have all this information summarized like this, but with all these tools, I'm always concerned about security of the data. Where this goes, and who has it, and how it's stored, and how it's managed.
Our CEO is like tells everyone to use. If you're not using AI every day, then you should be. So we have, and our finance team uses. I've only got to work with Claude. In theory, it works with the ChatGPT. Our finance team like to use the Microsoft one. What's it called? Copilot. It's not MCP, so you can't connect it to NetSuite right now. So to me, it's kind of useless. So I mean,
In terms of
what's someone going to do if they find
because
our inventory levels of
all
products?
companies are safeguarding all financial information, all transaction customers and stuff like that.
So if you have an enterprise license of any of the tools, you can let the information out beyond the organization.
Yeah.
And then the nice thing about MCP is it follows your own permission. So you have each user connect their own, they can only do what they're allowed. So theoretically, employee not in finance without an MCP license.
I've not tested all that, but yeah, it's meant to. It does. If I log in with my admin role, and then I run Claude, it'll ask me to change to the new executive role or whatever. I'm the only one using it so far. I'm going to get like a team or enterprise license at some point. We're just not sure. I just saw another demo the other day of another product that was really interesting. Because we were looking for we're looking at doing like AP automation as the next thing. But AP automation also comes with like bill capture and all these other things, expenses and that sort of thing. And really what would be beneficial right now is be able to create vendor bills from PDFs. We get a lot of bills sent to us and they're retyping and stuff. So I went and read it like a few weeks ago, and I was like, this is what I'm looking for. And the guy that pinged me on Monday on Reddit, and he's actually in Toronto, and he's built like an AI tool in NetSuite. And you can take a PDF of a bill and it will read the bill and it will generate the vendor bill for you automatically. So we're installing that in our sandbox as soon as I refresh it, which is probably tomorrow. And I'll let you know how it works, but it looks really, it's in NetSuite. And the thing for me was, you can create, there's also, you can create agents as well to automate processes. So we're building some things right now to automate. When we build the mobile apps for cycle counting, we need like a review and approval process in NetSuite as well, and then before it creates the inventory adjustment. So which is a bunch of scripting. So I'm thinking that we can use and create an agent that would review those records and create the adjustments automatically without doing additional scripting. So we're pretty excited about that. We'll see how it goes. I'll report back.
This may have changed recently, but I was able to get it to connect to my Sandbox account this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I just used with like -SB1 in
right.
the URL, and
okay.
it seemed to connect without issue. So they might have changed that recently.
Okay. Do you try the write and delete with the flow to NetSuite?
The what?
The write and delete with the rows.
No, but yeah. You have to, as far as I know, it has the ability, but you have to write some additional code to make it work.
When you set it up, like initially, you go, so you have to download CP sample tool.
Yeah. There is a Sweet app. You go to the Sweet App Store. I think that's Sweet, isn't it? MCP. Yeah, MCP standard tools. You have to install that, and then there's basically step-by-step instructions on how to connect it. Yeah.
And then whatever role that you're
there's a permission for that role to use the MCP. Yeah.
So you cannot test it in Sandbox.
Apparently you can now, but it didn't work when I tried it. Okay. Yeah. I spent like a day trying to figure out why it didn't connect. And then I pinged my buddy Hassan, and I was like, why won't it connect? He's like, it doesn't work in Sandbox. But this was 6 months ago. So. And that was with the sampling tools. But initially there was MCP sampling tools, and then they quickly made it standard tools. So maybe it changed the standard tools.
Yeah. I have some funding for the MCP. I use the MCP tool every day, almost every day. I sometimes do a tool of finding. The first one, originally I thought I can use the MCP tool for ourselves, because ourselves in Salesforce, we don't have access to network. I'm thinking to build a chatbot for our sales team. Therefore, they want to know where's my ticket. The way the order is finished, they can use the chatbot to do that. Then later, I have internal alignment with internal team, the sales team and finance team, and I realized that they don't need that. They say they prefer to use a synchronization tool, for example, like other tools to think that's the sales tool. So, and then I realized that actually the AI tool can be used in the practical manager. They want to do the dashboard, they want to report, they want to then analyze the result. So this first thing I found out the alignment utility. The second thing I found by accident, MCP2 is so helpful to identify the network related issue or synchronization issue. Before, if I have asked to the related for the network and for the problem, I got to go online or go to help. But now I ask the cloud to find out what the root cause is that, and then to go to my system, find the field ID and find the issue. That's much better than I go online to find the reason. It's a really cool function. I didn't realize that, and That's why I think it's the best of it. The last one is suggestion. I realized that the company use a different tool for communication. For example, we use Slack. But I try to build Slack the channel for the MCP tool. But I found out that we cannot do that directly. We need to use the third party. But Salesforce have that function in the video, right? I just go to the Slack and view that Salesforce like automation or like a ALT. I will start to use that. But for the NetSuite, they haven't built it. But I hope that's a suggestion for the NetSuite company. You can use this ALT and integrate with the third party. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still not sure what they're doing because, and I asked for NetSuite World because they talked about the next version of NetSuite that's going to have AI built in.
Ask Oracle. Right?
Yeah, ask Oracle, but I was like, well, is that going to be included in our subscription, or we're going to have to, or we're going to have to like pay?
Yeah.
I doubt
That's
it.
about
No, it's not. No, it's not.
what they say.
There'll be it'll be the
This
same
is what
thing.
they say.
You don't get tokens, and then the tokens will run out, and then there'll be token. I bet what happened is there'll be tokens per tier, and then you'll run out of tokens. There'll be a way for you to restrict who gets to use them, that sort of thing, and then there'll be a way for them to bill you at the next billing cycle or something like that. So I'm not sure.
Assuming they keep this MCP functionality, I don't know how Ask Oracle is going to compete with like me using Claude instead, because I can connect Claude to NetSuite and our Box server, so I can pull all kinds of stuff into a single chat. Whereas Ask Oracle, unless they're going to build those same connectors, and it's just NetSuite stuff.
Yeah, but I think we're like the top 5% of users who would actually do that.
Yeah.
95% of users would never care to do it. They want to be just go into NetSuite and have like a chat bot and ask a question and get the answer.
Yeah.
In NetSuite, right?
We can access some of this info, so I can answer that question. Sure. But so basically what they're doing is there's going to be a bring your own LLM option.
Okay.
And then there's going to be the Oracle option. If you go with the Oracle option, it's added to your subscription. There's no scenario where there's going to be any LLM usage without additional. They're saying the quiet part. That's but then the bring your own will allow. So MCP was basically a test bed for figuring out how people were going to use it. That's when they moved from sample to standard, what they did was expose all the different APIs that were available from that. Right. So then what they're doing in the next iteration is that NetSuite Next is going to be AI powered, so to speak. Right. But the idea is to move away from this because the theory that they were running with when they created MCP was that you should not have to be a developer to use this. And they got pretty close. For the way it gets set up, it's pretty good. The next iteration of this is you just pick which one you're going to go with and plug it in. So you're not really going to, they're suggesting you're not really going to go through the agent anymore, like the interface of the tool. You're going to do it in NetSuite, but connect those two together.
Okay. So I'd still be able to connect to like other third-party platforms connected to my same LLM.
Exactly.
NetSuite to that as well.
We're trying to remove you having to go to Claude first or whatever first. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we'll see how it deploys though.
Yeah, that's the proof in the pudding.
Yeah.
At Sweet World, they said 18 months.
When you're connecting NetSuite like Claude, is there any concurrency issues or timeout issues you're facing?
There was initially, not the last 3-4 months. It's actually stayed connected for. I've not had to relog in for like 10 days, something like that. Which is interesting. Before it would, like every day it would have me log in again. It seems to be a little bit more sticky now, so not sure what's changed. Yeah, but initially there was a lot of people were having issues with it, and the instructions initially were okay, but they forgot to include the URL that you have to include in the little link, and so that's actually there was like 4 or 5 different versions of that floating around on Reddit and other places. So I eventually found the one that worked, but now it's a little bit better explained in Sweet Answers.
You see, like when you would be using it to write to NetSuite, would it log everything under system information? Okay. Made those changes within the event.
Haven't seen or heard anything about it.
I would assume
I
so.
would
It's
assume.
using your role to do everything. It would still log all the same stuff as
Yeah,
every user was
everything's right.
interacting with NetSuite.
I think that's a fundamental. It has to.
I
Right?
think so.
It has to create that audit.
Yeah.
Because everybody's using that for all of this. Yeah.
Just most of the examples I'm noting is more like relocations. What much on the right side.
Yeah, it's out of the box. It's read only. It's the extra code you have to write.
Right. And it's not that difficult, I don't think, but it's just, I don't know, I just haven't done anything with it.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. And great conversations around it as well. So, thanks, Kevin. Stop share. Go back to my presentation again. Sharing. Right. I think that's about it, everyone. Like great dialogue. That's why we all get together and in person as well. It's easier in a room than everybody like online. For those of you online, try to come to a session if you can in person as well, because you get a lot of benefit. You meet other people. Where I heard some good conversations over filling up the coffee and tea as well. Just get to know each other and make some great connections as well. So again, thank you everyone for being here. That's fantastic. Our next Lunchbox series is slated for March 12th. Okay, and again, a reminder about Suite Connect. I should also put a reminder there. What was the percentage? 6% use their release candidate environment. So let's see if we can, us Canadians, get a little improvement on that.
That's why they moved away from. So back in the day,
Automatically doing it.
back in the day, you used to create a release preview automatically for every customer. And they went away from that because it was always like 5% used it, something like that. So that's why. And then the other thing is now, if you don't request a release preview, you won't even get the option next time. So we'll take it away. You can ask your account manager to put it back, but it won't give you it won't automatically come up and say get a release preview. So if you don't get it, then eventually it won't show up.
Won't show up. So yep.
To be
All
able
the
to-
more reason to just click the button and request it, right? Get your sandbox. Yep. And then we're targeting our spring session in person in May as well. So location and stuff to be determined, but again, thank you to our sponsor. That makes these rooms rentable for us. We're a nonprofit organization. Our sponsors are our only source of income, and we spend it on bringing everybody together. So again, thank you for
We
the
should try
sponsor.
and do that at the new Oracle office.
Yeah, we will try
Then
that.
go for a drink afterwards or something like that.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
I'll try and figure that out.
Good. All right, great. That concludes the meeting. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Hi.
I honestly really started this.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you.
But I've worked with like AI models.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Maintenance.